just because we're limited on time. But guys, I'm so freaking excited to have John on our call. I'm so happy that he's giving us the time. I know some of you have met him or know who he is. For anybody who doesn't, I know him through our bigger team, Dare to Dream. He's from Texas. He has lost, over 180 pounds?
190.
190. He's a diamond coach. He was offered the spot in the Transform 20 test group that he earned. I think it was the same month or quarter that you became diamond.
Yep.
Right. He's earned over $6,000 in prizes from his transformation. He's literally like one of the nicest humans that I've ever met. And if you've seen that like infamous video of me being knocked over like face first into the sand, it was because of him. But I'm going to let you take it over. I know you guys are going to be super inspired by everything that he has to say. So without further ado.
Oh, no pressure at all. Yeah, so I actually just walked in from a meeting. So for those that don't know me, my name is John Mattis. And so what I wanted to do is sort of just talk about my story and talk about where I got to where I am and why I'm passionate about what I do and why I love this team. The other thing I wanted to touch on as well that Megan wanted me to share with you guys is because I got into the Transform 20 group based on what I did in points. She sort of wanted it for me to share with you as well, just tangible takeaways you could get if you guys are really trying to get into the Morning Meltdown group, what it takes to actually get in that. And I could even, I even have information about roughly what points you should be shooting for if you, depending on your level, if you want to get into that group as well. So that's where I wanted to take it. So, so I just wanted to start with my story really quick, and just to give you insight into what I'm, what got me into this. So in April of 2015, I was actually on a club trip for work. It was in Argentina. And we were actually in the Patagonia region, and we were visiting the Perito Moreno Glacier. Those that don't know, it's one of the actual glaciers. It's actually one of the few glaciers that keeps getting bigger in size. If you guys heard, there's a lot of glaciers in like Antarctica and stuff that are melting or retracting. This is one of the glaciers that's actually growing. So it's part of the club trip. The problem with that is at that time I was over 425 pounds, and part of the trip was actually walking on the glacier. When I was at the base camp, all I could think about in my mind was, how the fuck am I going to do this? Like, I knew everyone was looking at me. That look of pity that you get with people. They're like, I don't know how John's going to do this. I don't even know how he's trying to do it. And I could just feel their eyeballs on me when I was doing the trip. So needless to say, I've always, despite, my physical limitations, still mentally, I always felt like I could do anything. Like that's just the way I've been wired since I grew up. So I strapped on the crampons, which is the spikes that you put on your shoes. And then I just started walking, and all I was thinking about was like, don't fall. But these, like, I'm already dealing with 425 pounds. You put on those spikes on your shoes, it actually feels like you're walking with cement. So I walked about, I'd say it was about 100 yards that I did it. And the one thing I feared about was, falling. I actually just ate it. I slipped. I fell on my hip. And then I look up, and then I just see people's faces. It was probably one of the most mortifying things that's ever happened to me professionally, because this was supposed to be a trip where the top sellers were able to, share in our success in sales and be rewarded and have these fun things. And, I was just completely mortified. And I just remember the guide saying, hey, you can't stay here. It's not advisable that you go. And it was literally like that walk of shame if you've ever been overweight and you've been at a theme park and you can't buckle in and then they tell you to get off the ride, that was exactly like what it was, but even worse. I got back, took off the spikes, and from the base camp of the glacier to where our boat was, they said I couldn't stay at the base camp because there's no one there. So they told me I have to walk back to the boat by myself. And when I was walking back, it's this beautiful wooded area. There's a couple of cliffs, there's some rocks, and I'm walking along and I'm starting to think to myself, like, why am I even on this earth? Why don't I just kill myself right now? And I was just thinking about how I could actually like fall off the cliff and kill myself. And I had never had those types of thoughts in my head before, but that was the first time that entered in my mind. No sooner than I could actually, get those thoughts in my head, all I heard was this loud crash. And then I looked to my right, and then all I could see was this sheet of glacier just falling in the water, almost like a National Geographic moment where you see these things with these glaciers falling in the water. Well, I got to see that, and it fell in the water. I could see that. I still have this video on tape. I could show it to you guys later if you guys ever want to see it. But I saw the waves and everything, and it was almost like I saw it as divine intervention at that moment, just thinking about the lowest of low, where God was just telling me that, I had bigger things in store for me. And, it sort of snapped me out of that morose thinking, like, how am I going to end my life? And you would think after that I would have learned my lesson and I would have just changed right then. Unfortunately, I didn't. Probably about, I just slipped more and more into depression after that trip, just feeling like a failure. And I was basically, when I wasn't working, I would just go home and I just eat endlessly. Just when I finished, I just go to the next thing. I think I was averaging anywhere between 15 and 20,000 calories a day easily that I would eat every single day. And I just sit there in my house, just lonely, just thinking of a way out because it just seemed too overwhelming for me to lose that amount of weight. And it was like either do the surgery or whatever. So 2 days after my 40th birthday, I ended up in the hospital and I got rushed into the emergency room and, they were scrambling. This was after I did like a ultrasound. And they were just scrambling. No one was telling me what was going on. And essentially they were just trying to save my life because I had suffered a massive pulmonary embolism and my lungs were 98% blocked. And I had a DVT in my leg as well. And after we got through the hairy part, the doctor said, well, like 5 minutes more, you would have been dead. And all I can remember is when my sister came in to my room and she said, and these were her words, she says, you're going to fucking die and you're never going to see your nephew graduate. That was sort of the words that my sister said to me when I was sitting there in the hospital. It was at that moment where I was like, okay, like I really need to get my shit together. I need to figure it out. But I had no clue how to do it. What I did know was I didn't, for whatever reason, something about doing the surgery just seemed just wrong to me in my mind. And I was like, I've lost weight before, maybe not to the tune that I've lost now, but I knew I could eventually do it. And so I just started just moderating my food. So like I said, I was eating between 15 and 20,000 calories. I dropped down to about 4,000 calories a day. And I just tried to move. And that's all I was doing for probably the first 5 or 6 weeks because I was on exercise restriction. I couldn't do anything. And so what happened was I went to my doctor's. He finally took me off restriction. He says, hey, you need to figure this shit out because if you don't show any progress within 2 months, I'm going to almost try to force you to do the gastric bypass surgery because you're just going to die. And I just told him like I was going to turn it around. Uh, and almost like divine intervention, that very next morning, I flip on Yahoo and I see the story about Casey Walker winning the $100,000 for Beachbody. And the thing that really pulled me in was, one, he lived like 2 cities over from me. So I'm like, oh, he's local. It's someone I could actually physically talk to. But at the same time, I just felt there was something almost like dreaming, like I could do this. This guy's done it. He's been overweight. He was down in the dumps. He could turn himself around. If he could do it, I could do it. And I friended him immediately on Facebook. Um, and I was like shocked when he like accepted right away, because I thought, oh, this guy's like big timer. He's won $100,000. He's not even going to want to message me. But he accepted my friend request right away. And I could just remember for like 3 or 4 straight days, I wrote a Dear John letter to Casey, just saying how I really needed help. But then every day I would just delete the letter and then rewrite it over again the next day. And then probably on like the 3rd or 4th day, I was like, this is just stupid. And I just sent the letter. When he came back, and then almost like within 30 minutes, he came back and he just said, I always remember it clearly what he said to me. He goes, I believe in you and I know you can do it. And that's all he said to me. And that's all it took, was for someone to say, I can do it, you can do it. And that was all I needed really to really change, was just someone to say it, because up until that point, no one in my family, none of my coworkers thought, even my doctor thought I could lose the weight. So everyone was telling me I couldn't do it. I needed to take the easy way out. And so he threw me in the group. 21 Day Fix was my first program. And in the first 21 days, I lost like 21 pounds and 22 inches in the first 21 days. And that was actually, those that know Doug Hayward, he was in that challenge group with me. So me and him started at the same time in the same challenge group. That's why we're a bunch of goofballs now. If you guys saw Summit last year. Thankfully for Michael, because of Jessica's announcement today, he's safe this year. I could guarantee that. But so I just felt confident after that first one, and I just kept going and going. And probably, what was it? In January, probably, 5 months later, I had lost exactly 100 pounds, and I won the daily prize for Beachbody. And then I just kept going. And that was from P90X. After P90X, then I did Max 30. That's where I sort of got my love affair with Shaun T. Because when I did T25, I hated Shaun T. I actually liked Tanya, but I hated Shaun in T25 because I was still in that phase where like I was so uncoordinated and couldn't get it. But then there was something about Max 30 where it really, the things he was saying, and I was really like listening to the things he was saying, and I did that. And after Max 30, I was actually down about 150 pounds, and then by the end of doing 22 hardcore, I was down 176 pounds. So that was in about 11 months I did that. I lost 176 pounds. And after 22 hardcore, my results on that, I won the daily prize. The monthly prize, which is another 1,000. And then because of that, I got entered into the quarterly, which is $5,000 and a trip to Beachbody headquarters, and I won that as well. And I honestly thought my transformation was good enough, to win the 100,000. I still believe I should have won the 100,000. Actually, the trip that Megan talks about where we had the tuck jump, that was like a couple weeks before they were trying to decide the 100,000. Who the finalists were going to be. And I really thought I was going to be in there, but for whatever reason, I wasn't. I firmly believe everything along the way, God has a reason for what he's doing. And, it just wasn't my time to win that money. And, and frankly, I didn't need, most people like 100,000, but for me, like with my financial situation, 100,000 really wasn't life-changing for me. Just by the grace of God, just because I've had a really good job most of my life. And so I am not your typical coach. I am not your typical coach that has some sort of financial incentive to try to, make all this money and build this huge downline. I do it because I truly care and I truly want to help people like Casey helped me. And I almost feel like it's my moral obligation to do it. Outside of Beach, I even do individualized coaching as well outside of Beachbody. So I've been certified. I have several nutrition certifications. So I work with people one-on-one. And so that's what I do. So I do Beachbody coaching. I do one-on-one coaching as well. I just got, and the exciting news that just happened last week, I got invited to talk at TEDx in September. So I'm going to be talking at TEDx in September. So all these cool things, all these cool people I met, Megan, Michael, Jessica, like all these people I love, I'm overjoyed anytime I get like a minute with these people. Like anytime I see them, like I stalk Megan's dogs. I always look at her dogs every day. It's a running joke now, but I do it because I like it. And I think even though I have a sales background, I don't think that's the reason why I'm able to translate into sales. I just don't think as much as most other things. And I think that's really what gets in people's way is they overthink the process of recruiting coaches. And so that sort of segues really nicely into, with Morning Meltdown coming in, how was I able to go in 1 month when usually my average, I could do SC10 pretty easily with effort, just reaching out to people, cold calling people. But, how was I able to go from where my previous high was maybe 18 points to where I did 60 points in 1 month? And really it is just the volume and the velocity in which you contact people, you reach out to people, how many conversations you have. I can guarantee you this business is not complicated. The more and more conversations you have, and the more and more you're talking to people, the more points you're going to get. Anytime I suck ass in a month, I could look back and say, I didn't have enough conversations. When I do good, I know, I had a bunch of conversations this month. And I really had a ton of conversations that month. I shared this slide before back in September, and I just wanted to share, just so you guys can see the amount of effort I was doing in conversations. So let me just share it really quick. Which PowerPoint is it? Where is it? It's here. Okay. I don't want to bore you guys with my work stuff. So I want to make sure I'm okay. So really, this is just a summary of what I did. So I set a goal for 60 points. So I talked to Jessica, I talked to Michael, I talked to some other people, and I was like, how many points do you think it'll take for me to get into the test group? And, we sort of came up with like 60 as an arbitrary number. I was in the diamond and below group. So I think there's like new diamonds, like new first year coaches. There's the diamonds, and then there's the star diamonds and above. And all I did was I executed the 30 and 20 blueprint. You guys can just search this online. I don't want to go into too much details, but essentially without judging, you write down every single person or any person you want to talk to, and you just work down the list. And that's all I really did that month. And so this was my output in August. And so you can see on average, the way I broke it out, the hours that you see here is actual conversations and follow-up I'm doing with people. This is not including my workout. This is not including social media posts, because I don't think social media posts, although it's important, it's not working your business. Just because you do a couple of posts does not mean you're working your business. You're working your business when you're having conversations with people. And so these hours that I notate here, this is actually talking to people. So as you can see, I just started every day. I set aside, and all I was doing was I utilize a method called block timing. And so with block timing, basically what you do is you work like 25 minutes and then 5 minutes on, and you set a timer. And so I'm messaging for 20. It's like an abbreviated power hour, but I'm doing it multiple times throughout the days and pockets of the day because I always felt I could find 30 minutes in my day. So I would do 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then I take a break and walk away because sometimes you just get so caught up into like you get sucked into Facebook and all these other things that make you less effective. So this way I could be very mindful of what I was doing, message the people I needed to do, follow up on share carts, whatever I was doing, and then walk away. And so I would do that during my lunch break. I would do it after work. I would do like an hour in the morning. And that's sort of how I split up my time. I was just working in pockets. It is a little more convenient for me because I do work from my house. So I don't go to your typical office. But I am still, I always try to keep my Beachbody stuff that I do separate from my work. And I do try to be mindful and not to work too much Beachbody stuff. Unless someone messages me and just wants something really quick during the day. And then that's why you probably won't see much post from me other than me posting my lunch during the day on most days. And so as you can see, there were lots of days where I was working a lot of hours and I was getting jack shit points. And the reason why I want to point this out, you cannot be the prisoner of the moment in this business. I think too many times we get into the prisoner of the moment of the business when we're like, oh, I'm doing my powers of three and I suck and I'm getting no customers, boo-hoo, and I'm just going to like stop working the business for a couple of days because I'm sad. And you can't be in the prisoner of the moment. I guarantee you, if you are consistently having conversations, you will be successful. And I theorize if you, I think it's a little above the power three that you really have to do every day. But if you're doing meaningful conversations every day, I don't see why anyone can't make a C10 if they were really doing those conversations with the people. And so, as you can see, some days I had 0 points, other days I'd have 6 points, or I had 8 points, or I'd have, as you can see, towards the end of the month, I really started cranking because I was like, okay, I need to get my shit together. And I was like a messaging madman those last 4 days. And you can see in the last 4 days, 6, 10, 24 points in 4 days I did. So it's completely possible to do it, but you have to be having the conversations. So just remember, your social media posts and what you put on the social media, they give you the permission to have these conversations. If you're not posting in social media, then you really, unless it's like a friend of the family or something and they know you, like you don't really have a permission to have these conversations. And so that's the whole purpose of posting and being accountable, doing the sweaty selfies and other things we do and sharing just little peeks of our life. Megan likes sharing her dog and her cute little son, and I like sharing my dog and my coffee. Like that's my jam and that's what I share. And, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And, I just really want to work with people that, are more aligned with my beliefs and what I want to do. And, it does, I'm not going to lie, it does help that I did have a big transformation. So I do have people that just reach out to me in the cold. And I have like wives where they're worried about their husbands and they reach out to me. So I do have some of that, but a lot of times I'm doing a lot of cold messaging. And so that was 60 points. So what I wanted to share was, we all talked when we were in the Transform 20 group, and I figured out the cutoffs. So for the new coach, the new diamonds, in the Shaun T group, I believe the cutoff was 38 points that you had to get into that if you were a new first year coach. If you were a diamond, a lifetime diamond, the cutoff was 46 points to get into the Shaun T group. And then for the elites and above, I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around 40 elite points. That it was great because Megan killed it that month and she still didn't make it. So I think the elite points were somewhere around 40 or so during the month. So that's definitely the hardest group to get into. But if you're in the diamonds and below and the new coaches, then you've got a really good shot if you do those levels. And keep in mind, those are the levels to get into Shaun T's group. I don't think you're going to need that. And this is no disrespect to Jericho. And I don't think people are going to work as hard to get into Jericho's group as people were working to get into Shaun's group. That's just my opinion. So I think maybe whatever numbers I share, maybe figure 10% less than that. So maybe it's 42 points and 34 points that you need to get into the morning meltdown. That's just my opinion on that. I've already touched on all of these things, what I did. The other things I work, if you guys are getting leads, I talk to my leads all the time. Yeah, it's not a great success rate, but I still talk to them. The other things that I don't think people utilize enough is people that bought in the past. You can make 2 more points off people every 6 months. So I think in that month, probably 12 of my points were people that had bought from me previously. And so that was just going back to people, seeing what they wanted to do, try out new products, introduce them to stuff. And I just reach out and say, hey, loved working with you before on your journey, wanted to update you on some new stuff we're doing. And that's how I started the conversation. Just really, really nonchalant, nothing, high pressure or anything like that. I'm just sharing all the new stuff that's going on. And there really is a lot of new stuff going on with Beachbody. The other thing is ShareCart. If you guys are not consistently using ShareCart, you're doing the business wrong. And I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. It's a tool. They've proven it's a high success rate. The other reason why I talk about ShareCart is that gives you a reason to follow up with someone without sounding spammy. Because even if I don't ideally know, instead when they ask for like how much is it, I say give me your email and I'll just show you a sample cart and I'll send them a ShareCart. And then I do that and I'll say cool. And I go, and then what I do after that is like I'll just mention them to, hey, I sent that ShareCart with you just to give you a price. Wanted to just, have a quick conversation, see if you have any questions about it. Then it's just really easy. It's just a very natural conversation. You don't have to think that much. It's just very simple, tangible things that you can do, to follow up with people. The other big tip that I'll tell you guys is utilize Zoom. If you guys have the free Zoom account, which I think most people should have. And if you don't, please sign up for one. But if I got people just halfway interested, I would say, hey, let's just get on a Zoom and then I could show you all the things. Then I could go and I could share stuff on my computer. And it's a lot easier to explain things. And they can see the excitement in my face when I'm talking to you. And it's just a different type of sale than just messaging someone and like sliding up in someone's DM or something. It's a totally different type of sale. And when I was doing Zoom and in person, my close rate was 100%. Period. Like anytime I had someone on a live Zoom or I met them in person, it was 100% close rate. So those are things you should be utilizing. Other than that, any questions? Or I know I just try to be mindful of time and just get through this material.
John, out of those, I guess that's 30 people, what would you say the percentage of people that was your first contact with them?
I'd probably say about 40% of the people I talked to was first contact. Okay. I mean, 60% was people like I had mentioned, but I wasn't really serious because I got in my way. Because I when I look back at a lot of mistakes I've made in the past, I did a lot more of the, I'd get in my head and I'd start getting into my feelings and it would stop me from having meaningful conversations. So, I'd say about 40% of the people were new. Like I said, I did leverage a lot of old customers to get points. The other thing I didn't even mention is Sell Everything. You get 2 points for beach bars. You get 2 points for performance stack. You get 2 points for challenge packs. There's so many ways to get 2 points. Don't feel like you have to sell the $200 challenge pack. Sometimes it may just be the 3 boxes of beach bars that get you 2 points. And I think people don't think about it in that way, like the way you leverage points. I try to get points any way I can. So if I look at the 60 points I did, I'd say 25% of them were beach bar orders. Probably 30% were challenge packs. Probably another 30% were performance packs, and then some were, and the rest were like TV mindset. So
Nina was asking what your favorite personal development book is, or what you do for personal development, like podcasts, things like that.
So as far as podcasts that I listen to, there's only one I really listen to religiously, and that's the Model Health Show with Sean Stevenson. And it's more for, it's like really good health information, and it lets you stay on top of a lot of trends. And a lot of the stuff I've learned, it's allowed me to add values to my challengers that I bring in with more information. I mean, of course, I like Sean T's podcast. It's coming back on, so I listen to that. But as far as PD books, I do read a lot. So some of my favorite PD books that I will listen to a lot of times, I will listen to Relentless. I will listen to Slight Edge, 10X, a lot of the Gary Vee stuff. I like listening to the audio portions of them and not reading the books. So I like a lot of those tactical type business books where, or, you know, that's the stuff I really like listening to. Other than that, the other stuff is all like health information that I listen to most of the time. But those are the type of PDs. Like, if you guys haven't read Slight Edge, like I always say, like, I can always look at the other one, the other book I would recommend that you guys talk about. I should have it right here. I always have it by me. I read a lot of Stephen Pressfield, so Do the Work. And then it also has The Art of War, or The War of Art. What is it? The War of Art. And then The Artist's Journey. And so the theme is it really talks about resistance and how we mentally stop ourselves from doing a lot of things, and how resistance shows up in your life. And it really helps you put your name on resistance. And then after you read the book a lot, you start seeing things in like where resistance shows up in your family members, where it shows up in business, where it just shows up in your own mind, and it helps you identify them. What night are we partying? Every night if you want. My room will be open every night, Michael.
John has a double-decker room on the cruise because that's just how he rolls.
Yeah.
He also shows up at events everywhere all the time. Crashed our New Leader Conference in California. Shows up in New Jersey on a whim.
Deck 17.
But I think that, I mean, we have 2 minutes left, but I mean, John doesn't miss an event. I feel like he doesn't miss calls. And if he does, he's watching them after the fact. Like, he's just very plugged into everything. And I think you would probably agree that events are, you know.
Oh yeah. The events are game changers. Like that whole thing, like especially last sales kickoff. So I'm thinking about my other job, but the last summit, that was really a game changer for me because I think in the previous summit, I was still salty about not being in the 100K. So I just like mentally, I was just sort of out of it. But in the last one, I really liked how people were sharing what it really took to be successful in the business. And because I have a business background, I like hearing the no bullshit. Like, don't tell me the power of threes is going to make you incremental money. These people were sort of pulling up their kimonos and showing the amount of time they work. And I can appreciate that. That type of stuff does not scare me away. I just like, you know, I like knowing what it needs to do I'm sort of like I like following a plan and knowing what the plan is to reach an outcome, and then I can follow it. That's just the way my mind works. It's not the same for everyone else, but for me personally, that was.
John, I think we're going to get cut off, but thank you so much for giving us your time. I know that everybody's probably super inspired by you, so thank you again.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see you soon.
If anyone has any questions, you can always message me.
Thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye.